Hey folks, how are you doing? Jimmy Drab here, host of Vital and Vision. Just want you to know that if you're tuning into this video, this is actually more of a preview of the show. Trying to keep them a little shorter here in the video format, but bring you a preview of the entire episode. So this video is going to run about a little over half an hour, and it's just a highlight reel, basically, of the conversation that I was able to have with Hutch Harris, the singer and songwriter of the band The Thermals, and other projects such as Hutch and Kathy, and Urban Legends, which in my discussion with Hutch, I discovered that he will actually be re-releasing that full-length record by that band, Urban Legends, which was about 20 years old. Came across some copies of the vinyl of that release, and he will be making those available through his Bandcamp website. So find him there and subscribe to that page so that you can get updates as they become available about that release and any other release he has forthcoming. He currently has a solo album, Only Water, which was released in 2018, which was self-produced and is only available through Bandcamp as of right now. So pick that up because it's a wonderful, touching record, heavily drenched in pain and sorrow from the loss of love in one way or another. It's a great record. It's certainly a Hutch Harris record because if you're familiar with any of his work, that's you kind of know, you come to know what to expect. He has a very particular style of songwriting, and this is probably more of the most melancholy he's gotten in his songwriting, and it's not overwhelmingly so, to say the least about that as well. So it's a great record. Pick it up. There's a suggested donation of $10 through Bandcamp. You can leave more, you can leave less. In these times, I'm sure more would be appreciated. Us here at Vinyl and Vision, we thank you for tuning in. We ask you to subscribe where you are watching, and leave the rates and reviews and do all those things you do with the internet. That is much appreciated. Comment and share with a friend. We love it all. Thank you. If you want to learn more about us, we are available at psychicstatic.net. You can find out more about us, our record store, and find merch of ours there. Think that covers it. Without further ado, enjoy the show. Writing and performing wise for you, like what's happening there, or what's not happening, I should say.
I was supposed to be in Europe like now.
Oh.
I had a tour that was booked, and the main show was this big festival in Croatia on the coast, and when that got canceled, the whole tour, I mean, I think, I wasn't going to be doing any club shows anyway with all this going on, so
right.
That all got canceled like in April, and is supposedly, it is rebooked for August of 2021.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any definitive answers coming anytime quickly.
I know, and I keep seeing the people that book me in Europe. They were working on Bikini Kill shows that were supposed to happen in June or July, I think. And then I saw they were rescheduled. I don't know for when. Maybe this fall. I think. It all seems pretty optimistic, I think.
Yeah.
To reschedule anything. Although, they are doing better than us over there. But at the same time, people in Germany are like my agents in Berlin. And I feel like they're getting, the places in Europe are starting to have outbreaks again. And then you have people in Germany, you have big rallies, anti-mask, anti-COVID rallies.
Right.
Yeah, so, I have no idea what's going to happen with that. But I have been writing and recording a lot.
Cool.
Here, which is great.
Yeah, because the last recording you put out is your debut solo record, right? Only Water is what it's called?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so are you planning on doing another solo record kind of soon, or just kind of...
Yeah, I have 7 songs finished.
Oh, cool.
So I need at least 3 more. and I think I'll probably release it like just later this year, October or November.
Oh,
Like
okay.
my feeling is there's no huge rush to release something. Like it's
Right.
such a weird time to be releasing records,
Yeah.
just because of what's everything that's happening in the country and the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then also you can't go tour with it. But as soon as it's done, I'll probably just put it out because why not?
Yeah, I mean that sounds fine. I mean, I understand your kind of like apathy for releasing stuff if you can't go promote it. I guess
Right.
but I don't know. Like I was just telling you about Will Johnson. He just put a record out on Friday, and I don't know how his sales are going, but I mean, even even like more so than what your sales are like. I mean, you're just putting it out, and people have the opportunity to kind of feed on it because some other people are trapped at home too, or feel like they're trapped at home,
For sure.
and it's just nice to kind of get some new material out there, like for
Yeah.
us to
Yeah.
hear as fans.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the vinyl thing? Because so the new album is not out on vinyl right now, and you don't have any plans to release it on vinyl.
No, I. It's funny because I just found a bunch of. I'm gonna re-release. I did a record about 20 years ago that was called Urban Legends, and a label called Jealous Butcher in town, in Portland.
Yeah.
They like found a bunch of a bunch of old copies of it just in their stock or wherever they keep stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's great. I should put that. I should like get that, get the old, get the digital files. I'll put it on Bandcamp, and then I'll sell the vinyl. So I am gonna put that up. I think next month. But as far as putting new stuff on vinyl, I don't have a huge. I know there's a demand for it,
Hmm.
but just like dealing with the stock and dealing with boxes of records. Like I like having stuff on vinyl. I like having my own stuff on vinyl.
Right.
And my records, like the last one and the new one, I know eventually I will have it on vinyl. Um, but working without a label, like there hasn't been a huge. Like I don't love the idea of just having to deal with the actual product myself.
Right. Right. Because then you have to kind of do the self distribution thing, which means you're just holding all of that product.
Right.
And
And I don't
where
like going to the post office, but just I don't like having a room full of boxes of records.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Well, with that being said, I mean, are you going to consider, or have you considered, like, possibly doing your solo work through a label?
I had talked to like a few labels for Only Water, but then after I don't know, like I wasn't excited about doing Bandcamp.
Right.
I don't know why.
Huh.
But as soon as I did it, I really liked it. And then I kind of like them even more now because they do all the days where they don't take a cut.
Right.
Yeah, and all the yeah, it was something I was apprehensive about, but now I really like using it. So
Right.
I kind of like I wasn't gonna approach labels about the new record. I was just gonna put it out on Bandcamp. If a label ever approaches me, and I think it's a good deal, and I think it's gonna be good for the record, I could see doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
But so far that didn't happen for the for the last record, and I was still approached by labels after it came out on Bandcamp, and it just didn't seem like the deal that I was getting on Bandcamp was better than anything else
Right.
that I was looking at. So for now, I'm gonna stay on Bandcamp.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it.
Great. So let's see. First of all, I gotta say thank you for doing this. I know that we kind of started so instantaneously.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's just an honor to have you here because so I'm a relatively new fan, is what I told you.
Cool.
So the way I actually got turned on to the thermals was I'm in record resale business,
Uh-huh.
so I do that on the side, and I got one of your records in a lot of records that I bought. The Body, Blood, and Machine
Cool.
that was in there, and so I never even saw it. So sifting through them, the first thing I noticed, of course, was the artwork. And I was just like, oh, this is pretty interesting looking, and I was just like, I'm definitely going to want to listen to this, so I was like, you get a whole stack of stuff. You're like, okay, what do I want to put on first, So eventually I get to it, and I thought it was great. I mean, it was just like initial first response on like upon first listen too, which is kind of, I think that's pretty unique to,
Yeah, it's rare for me too. Yeah.
yeah. And I immediately was just like, it hit a chord with me. I think that I don't know what it was exactly about it. Like maybe some of the vocals. I think I'd really admire the way you sing. Actually,
Oh, thanks.
yeah. I because I'm not a good singer, and I've always been told I'm not a good singer. And
Great.
and you sound like your voice when you perform sounds like the way people that have kind of try to be nice and give me nice criticism say how to perform. Like
Right.
you're putting your all behind it. Like you're
Uh huh.
not kind of like meeking or squeaking it out at all. Like you're just like
Uh huh.
full on. And yeah, that's great. And so I think it's very powerful.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, and then so then the second record I got because so that one sold. I'm sorry, I sold that record.
Oh,
So
cool. I hope you got paid for it.
well, I mean, it's nickel and diming here and there really, but
Right.
I actually came across another one of your records. I came across the first one on Kill Rock Stars. The what's it called again?
Now we can see.
Yes, yes. So now I was actually excited. Now I was just like, oh, I got another Thermals record. Cool.
Right. Right.
So so yeah, so I did. I mean, Diggs did the same thing. I put it on. I was just like, yeah, this is a good record. This is a good band, And so I kind of went
Right.
back into your catalog digitally and found all the other stuff, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like,
Oh, cool.
you have 7 full length records with the Thermals now.
Yeah. Yeah. There were 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and now that I'm doing more, and now that I was doing more research on you, I've noticed all these other bands that you've been part of as well. I mean, I listened to Hutch and Cathy before,
Oh, cool. Cool.
so that's also good. Like all of your music is kind of along the same realm, Like
For sure.
yeah, it's great. I mean, it's I guess the newer stuff, because the new record I listened to this morning actually, and a little bit more somber tone to it, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I liked about it was that it sounds like it's going to be an amazing breakup record.
Uh huh.
Like if I were going through one, I mean, I'm married right now and I'm not
Uh huh.
anywhere near there. But I mean, if I were, I was like, I would want to put this on.
Right. Right. Nice.
Yeah, I think it covers all the feels and like yeah, it's like it reminds me of like the last breakup I can think of. I was just like yeah, it kind of like sums up all those feelings in a really nice way.
Well, for me, it was like I had gone through a breakup, and I was also trying to go through like all the breakups I'd ever had in my life, and try to
Yeah.
like draw all of those at the same time.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And
so it's kind of I feel like it gives it kind of more variation.
right. I didn't know if when you were saying that you also meant because of the band because you had broken up the Thermals as well.
Yeah, it was right after that, but I wasn't really thinking. I think I actually wrote a lot of those songs before the band broke up. I think. I'm forgetting now, but
Yeah. Well, you write a lot because like I was saying, the
yeah,
other
yeah,
bands too. I found what was it called, Forbidden Friends,
yeah, yeah.
and I mean you have a number of singles with that name.
Yeah, yeah, there were a few singles, and that was while the Thermals were still going. I think it's like 2000, like 11 and 12, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, but so it seems like you're very prolific. You just kind of
Yeah, yeah, I
okay.
like writing.
You write a shit ton all the time.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, so I asked you on the show tonight to discuss a record that had influenced you,
Uh-huh.
and you chose the Hot Snakes' Suicide Invoice.
Yeah.
So why did you choose that record?
That was really the first thing. Actually, the first thing that sprang to mind was the Breeders, like Pod or Last Splash.
Oh,
But I
okay.
feel like I've like picked those almost every single time I do an interview like about a specific record. I just feel like I thought, oh, Pod. And then I was like, no, I feel like I just talk about Pod every single time.
Oh yeah.
And then Hot Snakes just kind of popped in my head. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's actually Kathy from the Thermals, and I were listening to that record a lot before we made, or when we were writing and recording The Body, the Blood, the Machine.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of appropriate, I think. But yeah, it just kind of popped into my head. It's just one of those records, and I love all the records, but that record specifically, yeah, it's just such a memorable record. Just one of the best, I think.
Yeah, can you tell me about like the first experience you had listening to it? Like, do you remember where you were or what you were doing?
I feel like Kathy and I were driving, and she had like the CD of it. Because what did that? I forget. I mean, it's an old record now. A lot of this stuff feels recent, but it's probably like 15 or 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the Hot Snakes coming through Portland. It was probably 2001 or 2. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy to think how long ago that was. But yeah, Kathy, we're both from San Jose, California,
Mm-hmm.
and Rockets from the Crypt, obviously they're from San Diego, but they were just like really popular in San Jose, because San Jose, the punk scene, there's like a really big rockabilly scene in San Jose for whatever reason.
Okay.
And there's a good punk scene. Yeah, and there's a lot of goths. I mean, this is off the subject. There's a ton of goths in San Jose. But yeah, Rockets from the Crypt kind of had that perfect vibe of like punk with kind of like a rockabilly vibe, or at least like a rockabilly look.
Yeah.
So they were really popular in the in like South Bay. And so Kathy always worked in record stores. Like she worked in record stores in San Jose and Sunnyvale. And then when we moved here, she worked in everyday music in Portland. So she always would hear stuff first. And so she was, because we dated and lived together. Now it's like 19 years ago, like 97, 98, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
She was always bringing home records.
Yeah.
She would always hear the record first, bring it home. And so she knew everything before I did, before like anyone else did.
Right. Yeah, that's the benefit of working in the record store.
Right.
Oh, so that's cool.
Just hear it all first.
Yeah.
Yes, she brought home, or I don't know if we were still living together, but she definitely heard, she got that Hot Snakes record right when it came out. Cool. And played it for me.
Yeah. Before we get into the record, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your listening history. So
Okay.
Are you a vinyl record collector or listener?
I'm not a collector. I have a bookcase of records.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely used to have a lot more. I feel like over the years, I've just kind of like everything I own, I've just kind of sold a lot of it just to, I don't know, to simplify.
Right.
But I don't collect vinyl.
Mm-hmm. No, that's okay. Yeah, my own personal collection is only a small cubicle as well. But it's growing more because now that I actually start talking to people and talking to more musicians, I'm actually starting to develop a collection only because it's personalized now.
Right.
Because I think what you were getting at when you were saying that you've sold off most of your collection is because you're trying to streamline, right? You're trying to carry light. And those things are just kind of annoying to have to move and protect and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And I've had to sell off my personal collection like 3 times now in my life.
Right.
So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. So now the only ones I keep are the ones that I receive as gifts from friends that are musicians, or specific records that I buy now that I really, really want.
Or I'll keep a lot of records that like friends, like my friends' bands,
exactly,
or like records people gave me. Yeah, like it's more records that have a
sentimentality.
Yeah, some kind of sentimental value.
Right. That's what I'm trying to avoid. But now that I'm doing the show and talking to all these guys, I'm just like, oh well, now that he gave it to me, I don't want to sell it. I'm not going to sell it.
Right. Yeah. Now you're stuck with it.
Now I feel bad that I've sold your records. Now I'm just like, I should have held on to those. Why did I buy it?
You can always get them again. Fuck.
Yeah. Maybe next time it comes around, I'll just keep it.
Where do you buy lots of records?
Sometimes I search the internet for like online auctions. Sometimes there's local auctions that happen, which are kind of nice. I would prefer to do that. I try to hit estate sales and stuff like that sometimes, and pray off the dead. It's unfortunate. Right. It's not a really glamorous business,
Right. No.
But I don't know. I mean, like at some point, like if I were to get like an actual store, which I don't think I really want to do, but if I do, I guess I would look into actually like picking up new records from distributors and stuff like that. I hear that the price, like the profit margin is so thin. It's just like
it's like 10%, I think.
It's like what's the point of having the store and selling new records if I can't make a profit off of them?
Yeah, I had a friend who just opened a store in Chicago like right before the pandemic. And he seemed, I mean, they're hanging in there, but I was already like, you're crazy. Like, why are you? Yeah, I can't imagine trying to make it. Try to live off it anyway. Right.
So what was your like listening history like growing up? Like, so growing up in San Diego, you said? No.
San Jose.
San Jose, I'm sorry. Family life, as a kid, I know your father was a musician, correct?
Pianist? Yeah, dad's a musician. So a lot of like Broadway, a lot of like show tunes.
Oh, wow.
That's like the kind of stuff my dad's like playing at home. Like Tin Pan Alley stuff, like George Gershwin, Irving Berlin. Yeah, a lot of like 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s show tunes like Guys and Dolls and Annie Get Your Gun. Um, Later stuff like Les Mis. I mean, I still like a lot of that stuff, and I still listen to stuff like that. But then he loved the Beatles too, so
Oh, okay.
the Beatles we listened to like always growing up. Um, and then not a lot of other like rock music or like rock pop stuff in the house. My mom loved Queen, so we listened to Queen a lot. But it wasn't until like like junior high and high school when I got like most of the rock and pop that I heard I had to go out and find because it wasn't I wasn't hearing it at home.
Right.
So like junior high was a lot of like Van Halen, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, and then I got into punk in high school, and it was like Up Ivy, Minor Threat, Misfits, Subhumans, Crass,
Oh, wow.
Exploited, and then like at the end of high school got into a lot of the stuff because like we were just south of San Francisco and Oakland where like when I'm graduating high school it's like 93 and it's like Green Day has just gotten huge. Jawbreaker, all the pop punk stuff in California, or just punk, Bad Religion, No Effects,
Yeah.
and then kind of got more into like all the smaller bands that are kind of playing around like in the punk scene in like San Jose and San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So now, were your parents at least listening to that music on vinyl at home, or were they listening?
Yeah,
to
actually, they totally were. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of the vinyl I still have left is from my dad's collection. So there's actually there's a lot of like show tunes. There's actually a lot of like old jazz too.
Oh.
Like old Herbie Hancock, which I love. I'm trying to think what else. There's a lot of like classical in there, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of his like Beatles records were so shredded from just him playing them so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably still have some. I think a lot of them are not even that listenable. It's funny because I listened to Rubber Soul the other day just on my phone, but like on Spotify. But there's one song that I used to always listen to on vinyl at my parents' house, and I still remember there's a place where it would skip.
Oh.
And even when I listen to it on my phone, like I still hear that skip.
You're waiting
It's
for it.
like something I got so used to hearing.
Right.
So yeah, it's funny because my parents they like sold their house and moved to a condo like a couple years ago, and they got rid of like everything. But they sent me a bunch of their old vinyl.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that whole thing that like phantom skipping or something, that noise like disturbance. I remember like when I was a kid, my I don't remember if it was my parents or my brothers, but we had a copy of the Clash, London Calling, and I remember at one point like the tape like would got chewed and it like flipped over. So then like at a certain point in the song, you would just all of a sudden hear this really weird distorted backwards like side B like start playing, and then it was just like, oh, now we gotta flip the tape, But so now I expect that to happen every time I hear the card cheat by the Clash.
Yeah, you'll just like never forget that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, but kind of ruins it for me almost when I'm actually listening to a new copy.
Yeah, it's annoying too, probably.
Yeah. So no, you said your parents didn't listen to a lot of rock music. So, and junior high was when you were getting into rock music. Were you buying your own music, or because you have siblings too, don't you?
I have a younger sister. Yeah, I remember going to like. I remember like buying like Huey Lewis 4 on cassette.
Oh, nice.
But that's way younger. That's probably like 8 or 9. I feel like my aunt and uncle they gave us each like $10 to go pick out a cassette, and my sister got Madonna like a virgin, and she's lying like in a lingerie wedding dress, on the cover.
Right.
And my sister was like younger than me, so my sister was probably like 6 or 7, and my parents being like, "Oh God," but then they didn't take it away, so they still.
Yeah.
But yeah, so buying cassettes And then I remember, like, I always had jobs. Like, I had a paper route, or I worked at, like, Carl's Jr. I, like, always had jobs, even when I was young. So I would, yeah, I remember, like, going to buy CDs a lot. Like, I remember getting, like, a Genesis CD or buying, like Van Halen CDs when I was, like, 14, 15.
Yeah. So yeah, you were actually mentioning how that intro comes in and that weird like noise, right?
Yeah, I think it's
A
what is
melodica.
it? It's not, what's that?
A melodica.
Yeah, harmonica. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, that.
I was gonna say harmonica.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I thought that I remember that listening to like that. I didn't know what a melodica was when I first heard this record, but I
Yeah.
have since bought one and I actually have one
Uh-huh.
now, and it's a really weird thing to play. Have you ever played one?
Yeah, I mean, it has the tube that you blow into,
Yeah,
right?
you got to blow in and press the keys at the same time, but
Right, right.
it doesn't have a good tone. It doesn't have like a piano tone. It has like a
Right.
harmonica tone almost.
Right. And a lot of them sound kind of like a toy
Right.
instrument.
Yeah, definitely. But so I thought that was a weird touch for this record, especially because like I didn't know what to expect. This was my first listening experience of Hot Snakes as well.
Uh huh.
Back
Yeah.
in yeah, it came out in 2002, and then so I think that's probably the year.
2002. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2002 on Swami Records, I should say, which
Right.
is John Reese's label.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And I don't think the melodica comes back. I think it's just on that track.
I think it is. Yeah, I just
And it's-
listened to
yeah.
I just listened to their new record today as well, and I realized that they did bring back some melodica.
Oh, they did.
But-
yeah, I gotta check in. Is the record that came out like last year or
The year
did it
before
come
it was
out?
2018,
Yeah.
technically. Yeah.
I gotta check in with it because it's so good. But then I kind of didn't. It's like a lot of bands when they kind of have their like when they reform and do a record. I feel like it's usually not so hot, but theirs was really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't. But I kind of like just go back to the old records.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did today. I mean, I gave it a
Right.
listen. I was just like, this is weird. It's a weird new record. You know, I mean,
Right.
it's a Hot Snakes record. So if you like Hot Snakes, then I think you'll like that record. But
Yeah.
I think that there is some weird like, it's almost like they went through a little bit of like a psychedelic bender.
Uh-huh.
Like Rick's voice sounds a little strange, like not like aged, but just like he's straining it in a different way.
Right.
You
right.
know, it's kind of weird, more of a twangy like tinge to it.
Yeah, and
it's
that's-
strange.
Yeah. I felt. Did you listen to Obits?
I
His
didn't.
band.
No.
It's his band on Sub Pop that's after Hot Snakes, and it is kind of that. It has kind of that twangy, like surfy. It's definitely more surfy than like Hot Snakes, but
Right.
it's really good.
Yeah. No, I like it. I
But yeah,
mean,
melodica is something I associate it with being on like dub records, like Augustus Pablo or like King Tubby. It seems to show up. I also think of it as being one of these instruments that's just like in a studio sitting around. The studio owns it, and they're like, someone's like, "Hey, let's put melodica on this
Right.
song." So I was wondering, maybe in John's studio, it's just like sitting there, and someone's like, "Let's try melodica," and it worked, because I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of times I've been in the studio with the band when they're like, "Let's try this weird instrument." You're like, "Okay," and then they try it, and it's not really. I mean, it's fine, but you don't need it,
no.
and so you move on. But yeah, with this song, yeah, it worked.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think you can compose a whole song with just melodica?
I don't know. I think it's one of those ones where I would pick it up and be like, "This is really cool" for like 30 seconds, and then just like a minute later, just not be into it at all. Just
Yeah.
put it down.
I think the problem with it is that it's so loud. Like I don't like
Yeah,
playing it because
yeah.
it hurts my ears. Because it's like you can't get any different type of tone out of it.
Yeah, it's like a harmonica is the same way in that like nothing is quite living in that same like whatever frequency that is.
Hmm.
Like I used to work at this coffee shop that was next door to a bar, and they were always playing Bob Dylan. But we had our record on too. We were listening to music, and then they would be listening to Bob Dylan, and I knew they were playing Bob Dylan because all I would hear was a harmonica just coming through like super loud.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wow, that's crazy that on that record, like that's the only it just cuts through whatever frequency that is.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if you ever listen to that on CD, forget it. Listening to
Right.
Bob Dylan on CD, like the harmonica is the
Is
worst.
it just painful?
It is, yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we should probably get into something else from the record.
Okay.
Gar Forgets His Insulin is next. This song's kind of funny. I was listening to it again today, and I knew that it was like something silly, But now I kind of put it together as just like, oh, like this is some weird, depressing like joke song at the bass player Gar.
Right, right.
I am assuming he's diabetic.
I know, yeah, yeah. You would assume, like, I'm not sure, yeah, but yeah. Is it just like one? It's just like an inside joke.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like
Right,
Gar almost died once on tour. Yeah, this is basically what would
right,
have happened to him, and we would have been like,
right.
whatever, he doesn't listen, he never learns, doesn't bring his insulin.
Right.
But it's a great rockin' song. So I think a weird thing about this record is that there's no bass, like, or there's very very little bass on this record. Like they use that organ instead.
Oh, right.
There's some like B something organ or I forget the name of it.
Like a B3. Well, you know,
Not
like
quite.
when they tour, they have their sound guy has an organ at the booth,
Yeah.
and he plays all those parts. And live, it's awesome. It's so huge. I don't know if they. I don't. I don't know for sure. I would guess that they probably have like some MIDI. I shouldn't even guess. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's something small that he can just keep. He can just have with him at the booth. And when they kick it on, live, it's just huge. It sounds
Really.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Nothing
it's so
like
low. It doesn't seem like. I'm sure like most people in the audience don't know. Like I didn't know because I saw them a bunch of times and I didn't know until someone told me. Oh yeah, there's their sound guy playing that. It's just something more like you feel how big it is.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I was actually wondering about that because I never got to see these guys live. Obviously, you have.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know what's so funny? Because I missed them the very last time. They came just as stuff was starting to get locked down. And a
Oh,
friend that the guy who was actually making his record with me had gone to the show, and he said, they were joking about. He's like, thanks to everyone for coming out and risking your life to see this show. Um, but I've seen them a bunch. They played Portland a lot over the years. I think I saw them probably like 3 years ago was like the last time.
yeah,
It was super good though. It's always great.
cool. Yeah, I have not committed to it. I know they were nearby. They were in the Middle East downstairs, I think, in Boston.
Oh, cool.
And I don't get out to those shows. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I have a hard time spending the money on shows. I usually go to the local ones, just the little ones, little local bars
Right.
and stuff, and $5, $10
Yeah.
covers, no big deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I'll definitely try to see them next time they come through if that ever happens again.
I know. Fuck. If it ever does.
I think you're in a good place right now for that because I mean, you're focusing on doing the solo work. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
idea of doing a small acoustic show somewhere, at like distance, you can kind of like separate
Like
people.
outside, it'll happen.
Outside
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad. I can't imagine if I had like a bunch of tour. I had a tour canceled, but it was not like that's because when thermals were active, we were touring like 6 or 7 or 8 months a year. So I can't imagine like having that kind of like having to cancel all that.
Right.
But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Right. Now that actually reminds me. So you are actually also pursuing a comedic career.
I did for a while, and then I kind of had enough.
Yeah.
It's maybe that's like another thing where like, who knows when that's coming back? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. It is fun. But if I had to choose, I would just work on music.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you don't think will continue with that?
I don't like doing stand up is fun, but it's not. I don't know. It's definitely it needs the commitment of like going out like almost every night and
Right.
doing like multiple sets a night if you can. And I like if I was a lot younger, I think I would have gone for it, but not.
Not now.
Yeah, I like. If I liked, I don't want to go to a bar every night, or I don't want to go to a bar like any night usually. But there's definitely moments where I would like kind of miss, or I just think of something that I thought was funny, and wish that I could go like say it on stage somewhere. But
Right.
it's kind of when all that stuff comes back, it'll be what I like about comedy is you can just decide that morning. I think I'll go do an open mic, or you can do it like that night. No, I think I'll just go talk on a mic for 5 minutes,
Right.
and get it out of your system.
Yeah. Is Portland good? Like, do you have a lot of clubs there?
Yeah, I mean, there's like it's more of like DIY-ish type spaces.
Well, yeah.
or like like basements of restaurants, or
It's like Fight Club, Jesus.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the bars, but there's a lot of like open mics.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty good scene. It's like anything else where like people get good and then they move to New York or LA. So the scene kind of turns over like every couple years. So I'm not sure what it looks like these days. But yeah, it was always pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these songs I have no idea like what he's singing about. I didn't realize that Gar was like supposed to have died
In the last
Gar
song?
forgets his insulin.
Yeah, I never really thought about
So
it
good
either.
though. Yeah.
Well, I mean, these guys are pretty funny. I mean, they have a pretty good sense of humor when it comes to lyrics. It seems. I mean,
Right. And they've also known each other for so long. They must have like that kind of rapport with each other.
yeah, yeah. Like from what the little bit that I've heard about them, like doing like listening to some interviews, they seem like a pretty like jokey bunch.
Yeah. Right.
I've been grasping a little bit more, but for the most part, I think this is a humorous record. So therefore,
Yeah.
I don't want to overthink it.
Right. I mean, Suicide Invoice is it's dark, but it's a pretty humorous title. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that you said you're not doing comedy anymore, but like, what is that like? The juxtaposition between musician and comedian.
What I loved about it was like when you're playing in a band, there's so much noise on stage, and you can kind of like hide behind it, and it kind of protects you too. Like there's like when you're doing stand up, you're just all alone on stage, and it's just silence. If you're not saying something and no one's laughing, there's just absolute silence. Which is really cool. You have so much more control. I mean, you have control either way, but there's just something about being like so naked up on stage with just you and whatever you're gonna say. And like if you're playing in a band and the song doesn't go well, you just play the next song.
Right.
And usually people clap at the end of the song anyway, even if it wasn't that hot. But when you're doing stand-up, if a joke doesn't land, it's just silence, and you are just stuck with it. And you can move on, but it's so you're going for such a specific reaction with comedy, whereas it's not like that with music. With music, you're like playing these songs for people, they mean something to you, but they could mean so many different things to an audience, or it could mean nothing. But with comedy, you're like, I need you to laugh, or I want you to this very specific reaction. And if you don't get it, it can be super awkward. It can be awkward anyway.
Oh yeah, right.
And also, 5 minutes can feel like a lifetime. It can feel so long. You can bands play for like an hour and a half, and it can just feel really long, especially if you're not doing well.
Really, yeah. That's something I didn't put into perspective. Thank you for sharing that. For anyone out there that's interested in starting a comedy career, that's how brutal it can be.
But I also totally recommend. I've like met so many people who are like, oh, I've always wanted to do stand up, and for me, like I had wanted to do it for a long time before I actually did it. And even though like it didn't become like the thing I was gonna do it. I mean, I was already like 38 or something when I started doing it. But it was like I fully recommend it to anyone who just wants to get up there and try to do it, even if it's just going up to an open mic like once or twice. Like
Right.
Nothing else feels like that. Like standing up there trying to make people laugh, and when it works, it feels like amazing. But also when it doesn't work, like it feels amazing too. It's just the only time where I felt like I almost like had an out of body experience was doing stand up, and I never felt that like playing music.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah, because you've been playing music for a very long time. You started.
I can't like 25 years, I think.
Yeah, you started as a teenager.
Yeah.
Cool. Very quickly, I would like to ask you. So, I believe the first instrument that you were given was a guitar, correct?
Yeah.
So you never got into any other instruments? I mean, obviously you did, because even your very first record, you actually recorded all by yourself.
Right. So I got into drums probably like maybe when I was like 18 or 19, I think. I feel like everyone, like when I met Kathy, she was the same way. She was a drummer, but she also played guitar and bass. Like kind of just like everyone I knew, like most people I knew like had a 4-track, and everyone really wanted to just like be not be great on any one instrument, but just kind of be good enough.
Yeah.
That you could like make your own song on a 4-track or something.
Right. So like everyone was a songwriter.
I like that idea. Sorry, what?
Like everyone was a songwriter.
Right. So it was more just like you just wanted to learn all these instruments just to fulfill your songs.
Right.
As opposed to being like, I'm going to be a great guitar player. So like I never knew, I never wanted to be like an awesome guitar player. I just wanted to play well enough where I could like write a song with it.
Yeah. Oh, it worked out even better for you than you thought.
Yeah, totally. But I just like how much death is on this record.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of... It's like a really morbid record, but it's really fun at the same time, too.
Yeah, I mean, kind of within the same, like, humorous theme. Like, yeah,
right.
it's a serious topic. It sounds like it could be taken seriously, but they don't take it that way. Like it's just
right, and it's not specific. Lyrics aren't specific enough for you to actually know exactly what's happening.
Right.
Or if it's a true story or not.
Well, I would assume it's not just because like in the chorus how he says it's like it was you were the one who died. You know, it's like just repeatedly, you were the one who died.
I assume, I guess you never know, but I usually assume that people are just making stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, from your own experience, I mean, you make up a lot of stuff, right? But now
I feel like, the people that I've known who've died, I haven't really wanted to write a song about it, but I'll write a song about death and murder and people dying.
Right.
But it's usually try to keep my own life out of it, I think.
Yeah. Well, so you have a definite ability to create a somber song. You know, like think songs off the new record definitely reflect that. But the majority of the catalog from the Thermals, let's just use as a good example, is mostly just like powerful pop punk music, and it's just blazing, really.
Right.
So, but even lyrical content wise, for some reason your lyrics like spoke to me, which is like I think that's weird because I'm not a big lyrics guy, but for some reason yours jumped out at me.
Right.
And so with the first record that I listened to being The Body, the Blood, the Machine, I think that was a very lyrically strong record that was like, it was reminiscent of Neutral Milk Hotel, because it had elements of like this like religious tones, which I'm not a religious person, but like I understand that, you know, people are moved by it, whichever way, either good or bad. And then there's a lot of like death references, you know, so I think that like that's why I wanted to ask you about this song, because I know that you have like this connection to death. Obviously you have some kind of fascination with it, you know. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it can be funny to a degree, but obviously not if it's you're taking it as this is about somebody who I know that passed away, because that's just too sad.
Right. Unless it's going to be like a really sad song.
Yeah. Which you might want to do. I mean, it doesn't seem like that's something you strive for. Yeah,
I don't know. Like it's not something I analyze that much, and usually I don't have a trouble like I rewrite things over and over until I get them how I want them to be. But I usually don't have trouble sitting down at first and kind of deciding what to write about. Usually it's kind of right there.
Right.
Like I don't make a list of things I'm going to sing about or write about.
Yeah.
I just kind of like sit down and start doing it.
Yeah, that's good. I kind of figured that. I mean, like with as prolific as you are, I mean, like from all the other people I've spoken with as well that like write music, it's not something you consciously make an effort for usually. I mean, I guess there's some people, like especially along the lines of like, you know, people that do musicals and stuff. Obviously you have to focus and hone in on a subject and then like build off of that.
Right.
But you don't create albums like that for the most part.
I mean, musicals are so different because you need those songs to like service the story or really like be the story. Those songs have to like continue whatever the story is telling. Right. You know, whatever part of the story you're telling at that point. Right. And so they aren't really allowed to be vague in the way that a lot of like rock and pop music is.
Right. Hmm. Interesting. Do you think you're gonna make a musical at some point?
No, but I've been so many times people approach me about like, oh, I want to make The Body the Blood into a musical.
Really?
I'm like, well, sure, that sounds good, but I don't like go like they never do.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but sure, if someone else wants to, but I don't want to. I mean, I wouldn't want to rewrite or rework on something that I already worked on.
Right.
Right. I mean, I would if I was asked if someone wanted to like if they had an idea for another musical and wanted to like I don't know. There's a lot of offers I would like consider, but it's not something where I sit around thinking I would like to make a musical.